So as we talked about, there are a few different upgrade options that you can choose, and there are even a few different upgrade options within the execution of the migration package. But really, the two options that are available to you are utilizing the migration package that is available and running that, or you can also do sort of more the really old school version, which is you can run the database load and unload utilities to export your database objects. Now, when do those work? Why would you do one versus the other? Um, the reasons why you would choose the database migration package is, like we said, some of the pros are you get all of your execution data, you get all of your objects, you get all of your password information, you get all of your configuration information, um, but it is a little bit limited. So for things like database types, you are bound to the same database type. You cannot move from one database type to another using the migration package. Um, Depending on your version of Atomic, if you're on version anything older than 12.3, for example, the migration package is unfortunately not compatible with those lower versions of Atomic. Um, depending on depending on your database version, it might not work with the migration package as well. Some of the cons to running that migration package, continuing on from what we just discussed, is not only are there some constraints around when you can run it, but there is also the factor of time. So when you execute the migration package, because it is exporting all of the database records that exist within your database, your length of exportation increases based off of your execution records and your historical retention. So obviously, like the more objects you have running and the more history that you keep, the longer the export process is going to take through the migration package. This only becomes an issue when you consider that final stage of running. So for the first two initial stages, it's not really going to matter. And in fact, we would use that as sort of a baseline run to get our timeline for your final execution. So that way, when you take it to cab and get your approvals and everything, you know how long the process is going to take. But because of that, you do have a more extended downtime. Now, the other upgrade strategy, as we talked, is more the traditional like database unload and database load. So using the Automic utilities that are provided to you as well. Some of the pros to that are when you execute that, you have a little bit more flexibility within your database types and things like that. You're not bound to any version constraints or anything like that. You can really just run the unload utility and you can run the load utility, and you can import them as long as you're able to move that data file. Some of the cons to that are, once again, you're leaving all of that like historical or that execution data behind. So you're only grabbing your object definitions. This includes configuration information as well. So if you have anything like LDAP and stuff like that would be configured, but you would still need to re-add your passwords for like that LDAP seek option to be available. Also schedule information. Once that comes over, you then would have to re-enable those schedule objects. So there is a little bit more upfront work that has to be considered. You need to look at gaps within your schedule to be able to determine what would be the optimal time for a go live situation, and then how much effort is going to be needed to re-enable those objects as they exist. As I discussed a little bit earlier, unfortunately for that major version change between any lower versions and version 24, the ZDU feature is unavailable, which is why there is some of that manual consideration that has to be taken. Once you get into version 24, the ZDU process then becomes available and you're able to run all of your upgrades in parallel again.